John, there's.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to call the meeting to order. This public meeting could be called to order at 6:01 p.m. And that note that a quorum has been achieved. So I'm just going to read a little statement here. Deputy Mayor and the CAO confirmed that the public notice has been given with respect to this public meeting for comment. That the notice was issued July 14th on the municipal website, Facebook, as well as the Mattawa Recorder. Good afternoon. We are pleased to welcome you and appreciate your attendance to this public meeting. The purpose for this meeting is for the council for the municipality of Calvin to prepare and adopt an annual budget. The budgeting process allows municipalities to prioritize projects, programs, and service levels based on anticipated revenue, expenses, and for public knowledge. There was copies of the proposed budget highlights on the desk if you'll pick one up. And I guess we're open for comments.
You want to go through maybe the highlights,
Oh, yeah.
of the order?
Oh, yeah, read. This, no. So council has two special council meetings open to the public on June the 20th and July the 10th to discuss this budget. With minimum growth and assessment and the increasing cost of almost everything, there is to be an increase to the tax rate to cover these expenses. The average assessed value of a single family dwelling is $153,000 in the township, and they would see an increase of $174.56 in their taxes. Of the residential properties in the township, 44.8% will see an average increase of $48. 28.9% would see an average increase of $147. Then 16% would see an increase of $237. And a further 10% will see an increase over $300. Tax levy amount went from $1.5 million to $1.7 million. Ontario Municipal Partnership funds from the province will help with general operating expenses in the amount of $172,000. Increase in revenues for property sale resulted in approximately $90,000. The expenses outlined are an increase in salaries and benefits, an increase in insurance premiums, as well as extraordinary legal expenses, an increase in board levies and outside agency costs. By category, they're listed in your chart, and the total expenses are $2,160,000, just over $160,000. The board levies, as outlined in your account, total $456,000.75. The municipality has a minimal debt fire truck loan, which will be paid off in February of 2025, and a new debt that was taken on this year in the amount of $250,000 for a new dump truck that also has snow removal equipment. Levies in amount on your chart, the $456,000 plus 75. Repeat. And other expenses, the fire department will replace some equipment and purchase an ATV for a total of $47,000 to be paid for by reserves. Public Works purchased a new dump truck paid for by loan and reserves. Plans to purchase a used half-ton truck as opposed to traditional long-standing practice of paying road supervisor a monthly stipend of $1,200 for the use of his personal vehicle This will be paid for by reserves. Road projects include gravel application and a 7,800 meter recap on Peddler's Drive. Boundary Road will be pulverized and a coat of A gravel applied before it is then hard surfaced. This will all be paid for by NORDS and CCBF funding. Municipality is in good position with the reserves. We have $630,666 left in reserves and over 227,000 left in deferred revenue. The deferred revenues are restricted to capital projects. So if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to make a comment, either in support or in opposition of the proposed 2024 budget, now's your time. We'd ask that you come forward and stand closer to the owl so that you can be heard. If you stop from the back of the room, say where Mr. Brown is, it doesn't pick up so well.
Yeah, we do have to publish on his website.
Nobody,
Nobody's
tried
on.
to get in that way. Let's give, the public a few minutes in case they tried to get in, on electronically, or nobody in the audience has a comment.
As far as I can tell, excellent work.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think in the back, sorry, I think you had your hand up there.
I have a question, actually. What's the, so for 1% increase in your levy, what's that look like? The $10,000, $8,000?
It'll be about 15, sorry, yeah, that's it. It'll be about $15,000.
Jenny was our, consultant for making this budget. That's her, trademark from where she comes from.
A great team effort with all the department heads together.
Yes.
Since December, we've been meeting and,
Everybody's sitting in the circle here, including the mayor, who's no longer, or not with us currently. No
Yeah,
longer with us, yeah. He
yeah, and
thinks
it's
he's-
important.
Yeah, he thinks he's ready to.
Yeah, that is an important to
Yeah.
mention, you know, we forgot to mention that Mayor Gould isn't here tonight, but he's played a part in this budget since the beginning, so.
Oh, yeah.
He's very aware of what we're presenting.
Yeah, we can blame him too.
Okay, that's everything.
Okay. If there's no other comments, council for the corporation, the municipality of Calvin appreciates your attendance to this public meeting and will consider all matters, if any have been stated, and there were none, placed before it prior to coming to a decision regarding the 2024 proposed budget. Okay, nothing else? No comment? Okay,
I just want to make one comment, just for the sake of, having an audience, it's nice. I just think that one of the things that's unfortunate in the budget, just as a highlighting one aspect, is the increase of growth overall. So the CVA, the new assessment value that we have to tax upon was 0.87%. So this is something that, I think that I'd like to see, I believe as a council, we should try to increase some of the growth to try to, I think a 5% growth would be ideal. So what happens is the majority of the tax increase is a tax increase. We don't get to take from extra assessment growth. So if we would have had a 5% growth, I think would have been a great target. We would have had a 3% tax increase instead. So, just to meet the same numbers. So I just want to make that comment on, how I think growth is important, and we just didn't have a lot of growth to.
the growth would help.
Just my comment, that's all.
Oh. Yeah.
If I could, just, as well, as a resident going through the budget, I don't want to see an increase I'd like it to be flat, but that's just not how life seems to work. So we did try and keep the increase as reasonable and as low as possible. But there's no magic tricks to be done. It's actually fairly straightforward. It's we've all experienced the inflation over the past couple of years. And the price of everything is up, and then that's now filtered through into this budget. So it's a little frustrating to have a higher budget increase. I'd rather it be lower, but as Councillor Grant stated, one of the major ways to combat the increases is growth, is new residents, new builds. So maybe we'll see a little bit of that in the coming years that will help offset future increases, hopefully. It's nice to have our small town, but we have to maybe balance that with a little bit of growth as well to keep the costs down.
Can I say something?
Yes,
First of all, is there any way you can lower all this money? Like we have to put out? Like, for instance, I see administration, pretty high.
well,
Why is
part of
that?
that is the union is forcing us to hire a full-time work supervisor. Whereas before, we used to have
That's
a supervisor who
That's
could,
roads though, right? You're talking about?
but,
Is that roads you're talking about?
Yeah.
Road super-
well,
No, I'm talking about administration.
yeah, well, that's part of it.
Yes, I realize. But, do we need that many?
Can I?
Yeah.
So administration includes things like your hydro, everything to run the building. Everything to run the organization that is not roads and is not fire and is not, and that is not the landfill. That's
It's
everything.
every-
That's
every
not, this
employee.
is not salaries. This is the cost of paper, the cost of toilet paper, the cost of, your admin salaries, the cost of hydro, the cost of heat. That's what administration is, but it's not just
That
that.
wasn't broke down, that's right.
No, yeah.
Administration to me is all.
No, that's not salaries. That's the cost to the administration department.
So this tax raise, how long is this gonna be? Is it gonna be next year, the next bill, the next bill? Like, how long are you stretching this out?
This 2024 budget for
That's
this
it?
year.
So our taxes are going up that much.
Well, depending on what your property value is.
I feel sorry for the ones who's got high property.
Well, yeah, I can tell you right now, there's a couple of us on council that are gonna be paying over $300 a year, which doesn't seem like a whole lot.
Maybe not, but when you got somebody else that pays like $8,000-9,000 a year in taxes.
Yeah,
that gonna-
not somebody else.
Yeah,
That's $300 or $400 on top of you.
yeah, that's really gonna hurt them. And there is a few buildings here in this community that runs around that price, 6,000, 8,000. I know my nephew pays 8,000. And that's awful high. And you're gonna do this on this bill, we had to raise. We had to pay more on the last bill, now we're gonna pay more on this bill?
Yes.
Huh.
And if the gas pipeline ever gets closed down, you'll be doubling that 8,000 to 16,000.
Happy, Jeff.
But in our lifetime, probably will.
I think it's too high for my liking.
What's too high for all of our liking? Inflation's 8%.
There's gotta be something that you can give up to bring the money, bring it down. What are you willing to give up?
We already
Like, we
did all
have
that.
to do all, like, how many projects do you have?
And we had public meetings, we cut things. We cut a truck out of the fire department budget. Instead of renting a car for the public works person that we have to hire, we're buying one because it's cheaper.
If you take a look at the board levies, we're paying out $500,000 before we do anything.
Oh, I realize that, I realize that.
And all of the projects are funded by funding, not the tax levy.
So what is the taxes paying for?
all of the operation of the entire township.
including the levies, including $500,000 in levies. The other thing that's not on here, if I should mention, that people don't recognize, the taxpayer also pays for the stop at the rail line. There are so many things before we open the doors, pay a staff person, sand your roads, that is not, that you don't, maybe not aware of. And that's why we chose to bring it out board levies, so that you were aware this time that over $500,000 before any business happens here. That's what you need to pay for. That's what we must pay for.
And I don't see anything here on lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
That's an administration.
We've only budgeted a small portion
So
towards the
who pays
lawyers,
for that, lawyers?
the township. If the township is sued, then the township pays the
Yes.
fines.
What about the other cases?
I don't know what cases you're talking about. There's none that are public.
I don't know who's paying for that.
Well, the township has.
You already,
ordered the
what
bill.
are you on the last one? You said there was 145,000 or something like that,
For what?
lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
So how did that all happen?
If you call the lawyer's office, it costs you so much a minute to talk to them. If you send them an email, it costs you so much. So every time somebody issues a claim against this township and we have to defend it, that costs us thousands and thousands of dollars. So far, this year, we spent $100,000.
I had a lot of claims.
No, but every time you talk to them, they want money. And if they call the ombudsman, we have to get a lawyer to address that. There hasn't been any claims that we're allowed to talk about.
No, I know you're not allowed to talk about it, and I'm talking about money to lawyers, and how often do you have to call
I don't call them at all.
them?
The only person that talks to a lawyer sits right here. And she only talks to them when she has to.
Pretty often, eh?
No,
They
the
must-
lawyers talk to each other.
I know they charge a lot per hour. I know that for a fact. So, but you have
The
to.
government requires us to have an integrity commissioner. He charges $300 an hour just to talk to us. If we have him come here, which we've done twice, to tell the community what he's doing, it's $300 an hour each time he comes.
How much did we pay the commissioner?
We've had no complaints this year.
No, not that
And we have had no complaints since this council's been running.
God.
the only complaints we had were carryovers from the previous council.
Okay, that answers my question.
One of the, I just think it's worth noting is some of the, whenever you do, these legal matters always have 2 years. Basically always have 2 years statute of limitations, so a lot of the things that we have to deal with today are 2 years old. Or, or they're not, a lot of things aren't new problems, they just linger on. And so, but I can, I'll attest to, all of my colleagues and, there's no appetite for it. Nobody will like it. Nobody's happy about paying anything to a lawyer, in my opinion. There's been a lot of efforts been made to try to mitigate those costs, try to reduce them, but some things just, they basically have to be defended because there's,
Because we're getting bigger.
people that, I see municipality as being a rich organization and they want a piece of the money.
Anything else?
I would just like to make a comment. Everything in this world is going up. Nothing's going down. And it costs more every day to do whatever you have to do. And the municipality is no different. I'm probably one of the top brackets because I live on a lake and I've got no complaints because the way life is. I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want some
Yes.
clarification if I could. Mr. Grant just stated that there were no complaints, on this council since they've, taken your roles, okay? And stated that all the problems were from the previous council. So can I ask that, was it from the complaints about something that was done in the township or something that one of the councilors did?
I don't think we can answer that, but still think we should be able to tell them that.
Yeah, well, I do know that the lawyers told us is that until the claims are in court, we can't publicly speak about them. So right now, they're just notice of claims and we're not in court yet. But I do believe that Councillor Grant, in stating that, I think, if I may correct maybe what you said, Councillor Grant, is that people have 2 years statute of limitation in order to bring a claim forward. And that not all of them have been from the past council.
I'm not suggesting it from the past council. I was more so suggesting that they're not from, a lot of this is not from right now. And it's unfortunate, but we've deferred costs until right now. That's all I was suggesting. So, you know, and yeah, and I would like to make one last comment, that, you know, I think it's actually a really good thing. And I mean, as a counselor, I'm super happy that we have an audience, that you're here and, you know, I think it's important that the public is aware, knows and looks at these documents and, you know, holds us accountable, so to speak, to them as well. Because that's how it's supposed to work. So I appreciate your comments from the public.
Yes, sir.
Say one more thing. So I believe I heard that the public or whoever has 2 years to submit a claim, right?
No, that was a perception that we had.
Well, someone just said it.
Yeah, the statute of limitation.
Well, statute of limitations says after that after that period of time. And it depends on the claim. I'm not a lawyer, but most civil claims and most claims after 2 years, then you can't submit anymore. So when let's say someone has a problem and, you know, it's gonna lapse and they might want to submit that claim just to make sure.
Okay, so that didn't make any sense at all, okay? Because one person's saying that they got 2 years to make a claim and you're saying they don't. So what I was trying to find out was, so how long you guys been in council now? This
A
fall.
year and a half.
Okay, so this fall will be 2 years, right? So
Exactly.
anything that's happened in the last 2 years, that can still be submitted? Is that what I'm hearing?
You'd have to talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
We've talked to a lawyer about several things. Some of them, they said it wasn't worth pursuing because we'd never get any benefit. It would only cost the township money.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, there's things being said here that aren't accurate. So I don't know why they're being said, because they're misleading, all right?
I think you should rely on a lawyer for legal opinion. None of us are experts in the law or have any legal background, so I hear what you're saying, but we're not in a position to offer any legal opinion.
I understand that, so you shouldn't be, right?
Well, even when we
It
talked to
did
the
happen.
lawyer about it,
It
he
did
said,
happen.
yeah, but our integrity commissioner, he told us that, he doesn't want to be held accountable to say something because we could go to a different lawyer and he could say something different. And then when you go to court, they could decide something else.
Yep.
So that's why if you have a question along those lines, you're probably better off talking to a lawyer.
No, I'm not gonna talk to you. I was just responding to what Mr. Grant said, that's all, and I was asking a clarification, that's all.
Well, we have been told that you have 2 years, and we also have been told that under certain circumstances, 2 years is not a finite term.
So
Fair enough.
basically, from the start of, when you started council, there could be claims coming into that, right?
Could be.
Could be,
Yeah, it could be.
which would increase the lawyer fees.
Oh, exponentially, yes. If the municipal insurance covers it, our deductible is $10,000 a person.
Right.
So even if somebody does a false claim or harassment claim, and they sued all 5 counselors or the mayor and 5 counselors, it'd be a $50,000 bill right off the top.
That's correct. Or
Plus,
it could be just
plus the
against,
10,000.
or it could be just against one council, right?
That's up to the,
Or one employee.
whatever, yeah.
I'm just saying that, right?
Well, I don't know, you have to check with the lawyer.
Yeah.
Anything else? We've only given the public 25 minutes to comment, but at least we did. So if there's nothing else, we can close this meeting and adjourn until our next meeting, which is in another half hour.
No, we can do it now
Right
instead of
away.
the following,
Okay.
yeah.
So adjourn this meeting at 6:25.
And the next meeting is a special public meeting again. Happy to say that we're not going into closed for any reason. Great.
Okay, so we're on to the next open meeting. And I need a mover and a seconder to call a meeting order. Right. And Counselor Latimer and Counselor Grant. Now, therefore be it resolved that this July 25th, 2024 special meeting of council be called to order at 6:25. And note that quorum has been achieved and the procedural bylaw be suspended for the duration of this meeting. So then, the next item is the agenda. I need a mover in a second. Oh, I need a vote. Thank you. I need to vote. All in favor, thank you. Carried. Most important part. So I need a mover and a seconder for the agenda. Counselor Manson and Counselor Latimer. Therefore be it resolved that council for the corporation and municipality of Calvin hereby approves the agenda as circulated. All in favor? Aye. All in favor? So proposed budget. Next item is the proposed budget. Get a mover and a seconder. Counselor Manson and Counselor Latimer.
If I might just for a second, Deputy Mayor.
Catch up.
Now is the chance for you to discuss the comments and whether or not you want to make changes to the budget that of the last 2 meetings. If there are no changes to be made, then the motion is to
Is that the staff too?
you discussed what you heard and whether or not you're making amendments to the budget.
Yeah.
And I think you openly discussed it.
Certain things, yeah. Was there any comments? Oh, no, we have to discuss it first. We have a
Right.
mover and seconder, Counselor Manson, Counselor Latimer. The council for the corporation and municipality acknowledges public comments received during this public meeting held on July 25th and discussed and considered the support or opposition regarding the proposed budget resulting in discussion. Any discussion?
Comments were heard and appreciate it and, but I would say no changes. It's a good budget.
Manson?
Yeah, in my own personal household budget, my annual insurance came in, it was up, auto insurance, it's up. Everything's up, so. And year by year, that's an expectation because we have inflation, economic growth happens every year. I think it's a rarity that a municipality can have a flat budget where there's no increase. That would require some sort of, I think, extraordinary situation, winning the lottery. So it's always going to be an increase because there's usually economic growth. There's some degree of inflation. It's usually around 2%. We had it in 2022, it shot to 8%, and then interest rates shot up to combat it. So it's where, as I indicated earlier, there's no magic tricks to be done. It's the expenses come in. and we have to pay them. We can cut certain things, and we tortured the numbers and had lengthy discussions in the meetings that lead up to this one in order to try to trim it, because we're all, you know, I'm a resident, I don't want to pay any more. I want to pay less, but difficult to do in this high cost world. And when we're litigated against, it has to be defended. If a councillor chair is litigated against, it has to be defended, or else no one's ever going to be a councillor here if they can't have protection when they're sued. So our legal bills are skyrocketing. Hopefully people stop litigating against the municipality. That's one way that will keep our costs down for sure. All the taxpayers have to pay for it. It's unfortunate. So I think we're trying really hard for you, for us, for all the residents to keep the costs down, preserve reasonable services, fire regulations. My goodness, the regulations keep piling on. If you're North Bay with a giant budget, or you're Calvin with a small volunteer department, you still have a massive amount of responsibilities and regulations that have to be met and funded. And that's through all the departments, you know, for the roads, for the equipment, the maintenance, fuel. Anyway, just going on to say, I wish we could make it cheaper. I would really enjoy that. And we tried hard to get a good budget that reflected preserving the services that we need and trying to get the best possible price and cost on things. So hopefully it will be a lower increase next year, but I would always expect as a resident, wherever I'm living, that there's going to be an annual inflationary increase, and then whatever's going on as well. So thanks for coming out. Thank you very much.
Councillor Grant?
Yeah, this is the budget that's required to feed the machine, so to speak, to keep things moving. And I don't like it either. I wish it was less of an increase. But there's not, you know, it's what's required to feed the machine. So I don't support any changes, and I do appreciate the comments. I really do.
So then, ready to call for a vote, and so no changes proposed budget, I presume. All in favor? Okay, all in favor, no changes. And all in favor passed. So the next item is moved by, is regarding a hiring of a public works supervisor. So who wants to move that? Councillor Manson. Councillor Grant. Whereas a hiring committee was authorized by council to carry out the recruitment process for a public works superintendent. And whereas a hiring committee, following the Municipal of Calvin's hiring policy bylaw 2023-044, recommends the hiring of Ann Carr as the public works superintendent. And whereas the public works superintendent is a standing member of the Community Emergency Management Committee, now therefore be it resolved that council for the corporation, the municipality of Calvin, approves the hiring committee recommendation to hire Ann Carr as the public works superintendent, and authorizes the deputy mayor and the CAO to enter in an employment agreement with Ann Carr, and that the CAO advise the CEMC coordinator of Ann Carr's hiring. And there is a proposed start date of August the 19th. Oh, no change? Okay, any comments? This is it was changed this afternoon. No comments?
No comment from me.
Go for a vote. All in favor? All in favor? We'd like to introduce Ann Carr as our new public works supervisor.
Hi, nice to council. Thank you for the opportunity. I really look forward to working with the council, working for a new community. I'm not that hardcore. So just home and yell lightly.
She'll tell you if you're wrong.
I think so. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with the public works.
Yeah, I just want to make and on behalf of council, we've all talked about this before, and it will be your first time meeting everyone except for Councillor Morton, who was on the hiring committee. So a little bit later after the meeting, we can come around and get to know you a little better, but special thank you to Brandon for filling in and for, coming to the table in a super great way in the past few months, and to the municipality of Bonneville for, through unionization, as Councillor Morton mentioned, we had to change up what Public Works looked like because the superintendent of the supervisor of Public Works could no longer operate equipment as a manager. So council opted to create the Public Works Department with a manager who could manage people and things without operating equipment or doing the work of a Public Works person. And during that time, we needed to hire a manager because the superintendent, who was Brandon acting at the time, didn't want to take on the management role. And so Alex from Bonnfield came and helped us for some time, but Brandon was right there alongside, and then eventually stepped up to the plate again, and until Anne is hired to supervise with a special agreement with the union that allowed him to continue for a very brief time to operate the equipment. So thank you so much, Brandon, for all of the work in the past few months.
And thanks to the union for allowing that little blip in their rules to allow him to operate equipment in that interim. But after being on the committee, we were very impressed with Ann's credentials and the experience, and even the road superintendent from another township said he calls her for advice. So, I mean, pretty good. I think we were very lucky to get her. Anything else? All right. Okay, I guess I'm kind of known for having very short meetings. We just had 2-minute meetings in 35 minutes. So I'd like to have a mover and a seconder for the confirm the proceeding at council. Councilor Latimer. Hanson. Now, be it resolved that bylaw 2024-43 being a bylaw to confirm the proceeding of the council be approved. All in favor? And I too. You don't sign that one. But not least, adjournment. Have a member and a seconder. Councilor Manson.
Okay.
No. They'd be happy when Mayor Gould comes back and I start making movement.
Yeah, my arm is getting tired. Seconding all these things.
Now be it resolved that council for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin now be adjourned at 6:39. All in favor? All in favor?
Just want to say, thank you, Jenny. I know we did said that last week, but I really appreciate, this is really a smooth process when she came.
You're welcome.
One more comment.